We're adding to our religion series by giving you all some stories that come directly out of the Bible and the lessons that they taught that still hold true today. This story is Daniel in the Lion's Den. It's found in the book of Daniel, and it is through chapters 1 through 6. And it says, Daniel is rewarded for his faith in God. 3 men stood in front of Darius, king of Babylonia. They were the king's top aides. Each of them was the governor of a large part of the country. From the look on the king's face, he was not happy. I am disappointed in the work you have been doing, he said. Then he looked directly at the oldest of the 3 men. Except you, Daniel. You take care of all the problems that arise in your sector. You keep good records. You are wise and honest. Daniel bowed his head. I serve the king as best I can, he said. The king stood up, and I thank you for it. Now I want you to ask you to do even more. I want you to be my top aide. You will rule over all the governors and officials in my kingdom. Anyone who wants to talk to me must talk to you first. I know I can count on you to make sure that all the people of Babylonia obey the laws as you always do. Again, Daniel bowed his head. The king does me great honor, he said. As the men left the throne room, the 2 other governors walked away together, looking back at Daniel with hate in their eyes. It was a look that Daniel had seen often during his life in Babylonia. When he was just a boy, he had been taken from his home in a distant city called Jerusalem. The old king of Babylonia, Nebuchadnezzar, had destroyed much of Jerusalem, including the holy temple where the people worshipped God Almighty. Daniel was one of the many Jews who had been taken captive and forced to work for King Nebuchadnezzar. But God had been with Daniel. He had given Daniel the power to tell the meaning of dreams. Long ago, this gift had earned the praise of King Nebuchadnezzar. Ever since then, Daniel had been an important person in the king's palace. Every day, Daniel passed places where the people who lived in the city of Babylon worshipped. Glorious buildings with golden images of all their gods. He saw them doing things that made him look away in shame. He saw them eat food that was unclean to him. This was not the way of his people. But the kings of the country had always allowed him to worship God in the way he was taught. He was grateful for that and satisfied with his life. When Daniel arrived at his home, he placed his prayer shawl across his shoulders and then stood by the window to pray to God, as he did every day. 2 men were outside watching him. These were the 2 governors who were now under Daniel. Daniel is getting too much power, one said. He doesn't even belong here. He's a foreigner. Why should he rule over you and me? The other man agreed. If only we could think of a way to make the king turn against him. I know, the first man cried. I know what we can do. Hurry, let's go see the king again. I'll tell you my plan on the way. 2 days later, the king sent out a proclamation. For the next 30 days, it is against the law for the people of Babylon to worship any god or man other than the king. Anyone who disobeys will be thrown in a pit of lions. Daniel's 2 enemies smiled when they heard about the proclamation. This had been their plan. They knew that the king was a very proud man who liked people to honor him. It had been easy to talk him into signing the new law. That evening, the 2 men barged into Daniel's house when he was praying and grabbed him by the arms. You're breaking the king's new law, the first man cried. Daniel had not heard about the law, but it didn't make any difference. No law is higher than God's law, he said. We'll see about that, said the second man, and they dragged Daniel off to the palace. This man broke your law, they told King Darius. He must be punished. Throw him into the lion's den. When King Darius heard what had happened, his face grew red in anger. He knew he had been tricked by the jealous men, but he had signed the new law and could not take it back. In Babylonia, no written law could be changed. Sadly, he called his guards, and they led Daniel to a deep pit in the ground. 3 hungry lions paced back and forth on the floor of the pit. "I am truly sorry, Daniel," the king said. "There's nothing I can do to stop this. May your God protect you from the lions." The guards then grabbed Daniel and pushed him down into the hole. Then they picked up a big stone and placed it over the pit. All night long, Darius tossed and turned in bed. He prayed to the God of Daniel that Daniel would be spared. Early the next morning, he rushed to the pit. "Daniel, are you still alive?" A voice came from below. "I am, great king." Relieved, Darius ordered his men to move the stone that covered the pit. Down below, he saw Daniel standing quietly with the lions at his feet. They had not killed Daniel, nor harmed him in any way. The king breathed a sigh of relief. "How is it that you are still alive?" he asked. Daniel replied, "My God knew I was innocent. He sent an angel to keep the lions from harming me." The king ordered his men to lift Daniel out of the pit. "I command everyone in my kingdom to worship and honor the God of Daniel. His God is the living God, the one who lives forever, and he rescues people and sets them free by working great miracles." Now, this is not exactly how it is written in the Bible. It is translated a little bit easier because this is out of a book for children, so it's easier for you guys to understand. But it does give the chapters as reference point if you want to read it straight out of the Bible. The Bible is full of great and mysterious stories just as these. So at the bottom, you see that little think about it? Okay. These are what you would be answering on these types of papers. It says Daniel had lived among people who had different beliefs and customs than his own. How difficult do you think it would be to do that? How should we treat people who are trying to do the same in our country? So I want you all to think about that. Do you think it would have been that difficult? And how do you think, in your opinion, how do you think we should treat people who are trying to do the same in our country? Should we let them believe what they want to believe? Or do we not? The Bible gives us many great things to ponder, such as those.